Hello and welcome to the Simplified Organization Show, a show for busy moms who are looking for practical help in managing their homes, families, and lives for God's glory. We keep it real without complaining, and we help women overcome the overwhelm and perfectionism that comes when we play the comparison game. I'm your host, Misty Winkler. I write and podcast at simplyconvivial.com about homemaking, homeschooling, and doing life cheerfully. I'm also the author of The Convivial Homeschool Gospel Encouragement for Keeping Your Sanity While Living and Learning Alongside Your Kids. And today I'm joined by my friend and assistant, Virginia Lee Rogers.
Hello, everyone.
Hello. Virginia Lee lives in northern Colorado. She's been married to Kale for 21 years, and they have 5 children from 16 to 5 years old. She's learning alongside her family using the philosophies and methods of Charlotte Mason and strives to be faithful in the daily, remembering that it's her job to spread the feast and pray, trusting Christ to bring the harvest. Amidst the joyful chaos of her family, you will find her drinking sweet tea, slowly reading through multiple books, fostering for the local humane society, and hiking in the Rocky Mountains. So thank you for joining us.
Hi, I'm so glad to be on.
So what kind of things are on your plate besides answering emails for me?
I knew you were going to ask me this question. And so I think I'm going to share fun things on my plate right now versus the crazy amount of other projects or things that I'm organizing, doing, or whatever. I have been thinking about what we're going to plant in our garden. So, and because I'm an NTJ, that means I've been using graph paper and plotting it out. And I've been thinking about how to refresh all of our meals because I'm so bored of everything we've been cooking. So I got a ton of cookbooks from the library. And so that, I do like projects. Projects are fun. And I'm thinking through all the books that I'm going to put on my 5x5 for this next year. So those are like large things to think through, but really fun things to plan. So those things are fun things on my plate right now.
Yeah. There are some of us who add projects when we feel overwhelmed because I need a fun project because I've got all these other crazy things going on.
Well, that's exactly how I am. So I was like, oh, then I realized the things that are fun are really projects too, but they're enjoyable and they refresh. So those are important to have.
Yeah, for sure. So I know we have talked, we've talked quite a bit, but one thing that we both experience, and we are not the only ones, is having those projects maybe take over more of our awareness and brain space than they ought to, so that when children come to us, we don't respond in the way that maybe we ought to respond.
Irritated? No. Yes, I think that when you are a mom that takes on lots of projects, as well as a mom who maybe isn't as naturally touchy-feely, just being aware that we're going to get irritable and having a plan to deal with that is really important.
Planning to be irritable. I like it.
Yes, that actually sounds crazy, but I do think of it like, Virginia Lee, you will become irritated today and tomorrow and the next day. So because you want to glorify the Lord, you better have a plan for how to deal with that. So honestly, and this wasn't something I wanted to admit to myself, but I am more irritable when I'm tired. And because I can easily burn the midnight oil with things, I can actually think I don't need that much sleep. But it is just so much easier to become irritated when you're not prioritizing rest in your life. And I think we think about rest like, are we in the Word? That is rest. What is our plan for the Sabbath? That is rest. Even just in a day, have I put too much in a day? But honestly, I don't think about sleep. As often as I need to. I think about all those other things, but if I don't get enough sleep, then I am going to be easily irritated. And so I think that's one of like the biggest things I have to just be honest with myself about is, are you prioritizing going to bed and sleeping? You know, um, kids will wake up in the middle of the night, people get sick. That is life. But that makes it even more important to prioritize it when you can. So
So
I think
true.
my biggest thing for me are that when I talk to other moms is the one of the first things I ask is, are you going to bed at night?
Mm.
Because if you are rested, you have the capacity to respond in a better way.
Yeah, it's true. As much as, we might enjoy those quiet hours after all the kids are in bed, quiet hours are might be there for actually sleeping.
I think about them as being precious, those quiet hours. And so you want to use those precious hours to do things that you're really excited about. Um, but it feels good to be rested.
Yes.
So it helps combat being irritable, but it also feels good. And so that's a precious thing. I think I'm in my 40s and I've never realized what a gift sleep is to yourself and everyone around you. So I think the other things I do to deal with irritableness can't even work the right way if I'm exhausted.
So what are some of those other things that you do? What's your plan for dealing with the irritation when it happens?
Okay, well, one of them is having a time budget. Um, so that I can say yes to projects because I'm probably going to say yes to them anyways, if I'm being honest with myself. And if I'm not, I'm creating them. So having a time budget so that I really know, this is when in a day I'm going to work on things. These things can be worked on with interruptions, but I've thought that through so that I'm not trying to put things in places in the day that need no interruptions. And then I'm irritable because how dare the children that God gave us come in and need something, So, and then the great thing is because I have some older kids also is when you have a time budget, I can communicate to them like,
Mhm.
these are the times that mom's going to work on this, and please don't interrupt me while I'm doing it. And they're perfectly capable of not interrupting me, but they have to know. So if we are trying to work on a project or read even or something like that, and it's not in its proper place, if you have no idea of what you have time for in your day and where things need to go, it's really easy to be irritated because it's either something you've really been looking forward to doing, and then also having a plan that you're going to get irritated because we're still being sanctified.
Mhm.
So what do we do when that happens? Like, we can have a time budget and we can make wise choices and we can communicate with our children about them. When you notice that happening, how are you going to handle that? And you can't think that through in the heat of the moment. You have to
Right.
think that through ahead of time.
Yeah. Well, and one thing that we're doing is training our children, teaching them, and we're teaching them by modeling. And so seeing how we handle
Mhm.
our sin teaches them also how to deal with it. And so if they see us repenting and asking for their forgiveness, then they can also learn firsthand that it's okay
Yeah.
to mess up in front of someone and ask for forgiveness. Like they learn what to do as well, because we're all going to be sinning against one another.
Mhm.
That's just a given.
Yep. Even though we want to fight against it, that is just, I mean, we should be fighting against it, but
Mhm.
yeah, that is just a given. And I think even with little kids, this is true, not just with our big kids. We obviously, will sin against all of them, but even modeling to our little kids, and my youngest is 5 now, so not as little as I've had in the past, but like with me, when I feel myself getting irritated, I will tell her, oh boy, mom is getting really irritated right now. Please wait a minute so I can get some self-control. And she is perfectly capable of understanding what that means. And it keeps her feelings from being hurt because then she's thinking in her mind, oh no, mama, and oftentimes sometimes I wish she'd just be quiet because I tend to like count and take a deep breath, but sometimes she'll start praying for me. So
Oh,
it's really sweet. Like she'll just go into prayer right away. Like, dear God, please help my mama not to be mad. So, so I think that is just a huge lesson to learn right there. Like, it's okay to tell our kids, stop, wait a minute. I'm feeling irritated and I don't want to lose self-control. And so they are seeing you right then struggle for it, but strive to do the right thing. And I literally do like take deep breaths and count. I
Mhm.
mean, that's simplistic. It doesn't have to be huge, but it helps me not to snap at them, or give them a dirty look or
Mhm.
make a frustrated noise. Um, and because I have 5 kids, that might happen with one of them and 30 minutes later happen again. And so it's really great just to be able to be real honest and real with each other like that. And I have children that are my brothers and sisters in Christ also. Um,
Right.
and so, we want to be able to recognize that with each other and fight sin together that way. Um, so while it being irritable can sound like a small thing, um, it sets the tone in your house. So it's a really large thing. And to be able to think of something simple in the moment to just let them know, take the breaths, count, and then I'm normally able to look at them and smile and listen.
And that's it for this episode of the Simplified Organization Show. Stay tuned next week for part 2 of my conversation with Virginia Lee, where we dig into the time budget tactic that she mentioned here in this episode. We get to practical brass tacks talking about why a time budget really is helpful. Sometimes our irritation with our kids flows out of the overwhelm that washes over us and threatens to drown us, but we don't have to accept that drowning feeling. We don't have to be stuck in it, and we definitely don't have to react poorly with the people in our lives because of our emotional responses. We can get a handle on our overwhelm and practice self-control in our responses. My free workshop about handling overwhelm will help you learn how to do just that. Go to answeroverwhelm.com to find the free workshop all about getting a handle on overwhelm and refusing to let it control you. You can find that at answeroverwhelm.com for free.